Hello, this is Theo, and welcome to the second gridded macOS tutorial, creating, importing, and editing. So today we're going to start off by creating some decks, creating some cards inside those decks. And as you'll notice at first, if you go to File, New, everything will be grayed out initially. That's because right now we're looking at the built-in deck of Mexican state capitals, and you can't edit a built-in deck, so no problem though. We're gonna go into the decks sidebar here, and if we go to response types and we click this plus, we can create so the response types are like categories that our flashcards will be in. So you can have like a category for French and one for German if you want. So we'll create a French category. Then on here you can either click these pluses here, or you can go into File if you want. So we'll click this plus, and as you can see, you can either create a single deck, name it this French deck, or you can add many decks at the same time if you want. Say you want to add 5 decks at the same time. You just want to call it French 1 through 5. You can do that if you want. And down here, these are each of these squares is a deck of cards, and we can double click one. And here's our empty canvas over here that we can add cards into. So how do we do that? Go to File. There's 2 different ways you can do. This is a easier main way you can do it. So say we have a so we have prompts, and we want to add a response to that. Then we can hit add item, and there we go. We have created a flashcard, and it has shown up over there. So maybe we'll create another one. Let's see. We'll go with table. And say you don't know how to say that in French. We have a translator over here on this right side here. So you can click translate, and yeah, you might not want to believe these blindly, because that might not be the translation that you want. That's what Microsoft translated it into. Another source you can use is if you click your word with 3 fingers, you can get a dictionary to pop up. The French English dictionary is pretty useful. So here we have a English word table. It looks like it's just translated very similarly into French. So we can add that. You can use these arrows up here if you want to go between your cards, and so here we go. And we could play these if we wanted, just like we did in the first tutorial. So second way we can add, if you want to add a lot of cards at the same time, is we can go to File and Many New Items. And say you found a bunch of flashcards on a site somewhere that you want to just copy and paste them in here. Well, you can do that with this window. Say you have some format like 4, comma, and then so you have your items formatted like that, and you want to add all of these. What you do is you go up here and you type in this comma down here, and you put it up here, and you check this depending on what order it is, what order these are in, and then you can generate a preview. And as you'll see, the table has become orange. That's because we already have a table. And it would become orange if it were, even if we were adding it to the second deck here, or a different, as long as we're in the same category, the same response type French there. So we can choose what we want the program to do when it comes upon something that's already inside of one of your decks. And you can either have them be combined, or say, so you have that as what you're pasting in, and you think, I think this isn't a very reputable source, so I'm gonna whenever there's a conflict, I'm gonna use whatever I already have instead of what I'm adding. You can do that, and then just hit done, and it'll keep what you have there. Or if it were the other way around, you could do that too. So now we have four cards in here. And if you were to refresh this, you'd see 0 out of 4 currently. If we were just to play one of these quick, you'd see that now we have 1 out of 4 have been played. And this number in the upper left of each deck corresponds to is related to these numbers. So if we were to play each of these individually, I'm just hitting Command Enter instead of play in the upper right hand corner up here. See, now we have all 4 of them have been played at some point in time, and up here is a 3 because on average we have three more to go to get to a 4, which is the size of the deck up in the corner here. So if we were to, or if we do 2 at a time, we can do see, now we have 2 up there. And your goal is to get this number up here to be a 0, at which point, which will only happen when you have all of these numbers the same as the size of your deck. Sort of want to get 0s in your upper left hand corner. So now we are going to look at a couple of different features. If we deselect all of those, maybe we want to, actually, how about we go into a second deck, and you can open and close this with a Command D if you want. See, if we try to add 3 again, it'll say these buttons up here will stop being grayed out, and it'll ask us if we want to use a card that's already existing. So we can say yes, and then the 2 cards will be tied. between the two decks. And whenever you change it in one, it'll change in the other. So then if we could add this one over here, and if we were to play it here, it would become played in the other one. And as you can see, this number up here is no longer 0, because now you'd have to get all of these numbers to 5 in order to get a 0 up here. So another thing you can do is if you created a bunch of cards and they weren't, and you never clicked up here, what you can do is, if you select them all, what I just did is the same as hitting this button here. This button called Resolve Conflicts. You can generate a preview, and it'll say that these colors these ones will become colored because it sees that you have 3 different cards with the same prompt that are all different responses. So if you want, you can choose an option over here, hit done, and then it'll combine all 3 of them with commas, all of your response. So now I'm going to have to somehow memorize this. And if you have responses joined by commas, what you can do is you can play them in any order you want. You can also put as many spaces as you want in between them, or after them. And if you keep going, it'll expand as much as you need to see everything. And that'll be marked as correct because it has all 3 of them, even though they're not in the same order. So you can answer them in any order you want. Another thing you can do is you can, well, I guess if you entered them wrong, you could switch these around, or another thing that's sometimes annoying is you'll get a card that's like is you'll import from somewhere else and you'll get a card that looks like this. I think that's right. We'll see if that's, yeah. And if you want to split this into 2 different cards, what you can do is you can hit this button, oh, because I had a comma space there instead of a comma, and then it'll split it into 2 different cards, each with the same response there. And you can do that for all of your cards at the same time if you go to this option up here. You could change the case of your card. You can make everything capitalized. Or we could put that back. So those are some of your editing features. And another thing you can do, if we go over here, if you want to create a master deck with all of your cards in it, you can choose that option, and there you go. Or if you didn't have any of these decks, if you delete these, what you could do is you could take a huge deck and you could break it into smaller ones. Like this. And now we have 4 different decks, each with a much smaller amount of cards in each of them. And probably the last thing I'm going to talk about is bundles up here. So say you have 2 different response types. Say you have, I don't know, whatever. We'll create a deck called things. I don't even need to put anything in it. If you want to create a bundle, this is like a collection of decks that you can put together. Okay, so you can just drag a deck into there. If you want, you can drag all of my French into there. And then you can go by response type once you're inside of a bundle. And you can have the same deck in multiple bundles if you want, the same way that you can have the same card in multiple decks. One more thing. If you're looking at a built-in deck of cards and you want to edit them, you can do that, and now you'll be able to say you don't like this. Say you want to make a capital or something, I don't know. There you go, you have edited a built-in deck. And your original version will still be there, but you will have your own version as well. So that's all there is for this tutorial. See you in the next one.